be a sponge, and then bring the juice.
By focusing on your improvement, by focusing on your progress, and eliminating any fixed mindset that you may have and acts of perfectionism, then you encourage your own mastery.
On some level, we do what we want to do 24 hours a day. Now, sometimes it may not seem like that, but if I'm choosing to work instead of sleep, what I'm actually saying is keeping my job is more important than sleeping.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting beat. What can I do to get over this hump? So mentally, that's when I kind of put that forefront, like, hey, it's either all or nothing.
I like to put failure in quotations because I don't believe that failure is true failure if you're looking at it with the right mindset.
The truth is, the journey to greatness is hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, and every day you have to decide what you value, what you want to pursue, and what you want to achieve. And if you dig deep enough, if you push hard enough, we all have what it takes to be great. Welcome to the Edge of Greatness.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Edge of Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Charles Schultz, and today I have with me a very special guest, former professional baseball player, Brett Carroll. Brett has spent 11 years playing as a pro and now is a leader of a youth baseball organization called BC Athletics. Really excited to talk to him today. Thank you so much for joining me, Brett.
Absolutely, Charles. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So while I was getting ready for this conversation, I was doing a little research, trying to figure out a few things to ask and where the direction of the conversation is I want to go. But I stumbled upon a picture of you and your wife as Mr. and Mrs. Incredible and your little girls as princesses. And I got to know, what's your most epic Halloween costume? What's your favorite? What's your go-to?
I'd have to say, up to this date, well, I tell you what, which is funny you said that because our girls went to the Disney store to buy them something and they wanted us to dress like that. And I thought, like, we're anything but Mr. and Miss Incredible, but it was funny that they loved it. It was fun to dress up with them and they loved watching that movie. And, but last year, we went to more of a kidless Halloween party, and I went as Ted Lasso. I thought I did a decent job. So I think Halloween's fun. I think it's fun to dress up. So
yeah, Ted Lasso's a good one too. I like that one.
And I think I realized too, I didn't think that there would be about 30 other Ted Lassos. So it wasn't like it was anything original. So.
Well, yeah, he's the big thing right now. So, but speaking of coaches and speaking of Ted Lasso, actually that kind of leads into one of the questions I wanted to ask you about. So I watched you, I think coaches have a lasting impression on us as we develop, as we grow, as we mature through our careers. They have a huge impact on what we become. And I saw you give a talk or a speech about Jim McGuire. Can you tell me what kind of impact he had on your life and as your baseball career and how that evolved over the course of your maturation through professional sports?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's so important. And it was a special moment for me recently. We had a scout day here for our post-grad college kids. And I knew he was coming. And really, since I left MTSU, dove into pro ball, life just was going fast and you're in the moment of that. And so to really have that true time, and I knew that I had thanked him before, but to really kind of have a time that I wanted to honor him in front of his colleagues and people just meant something to me. And I'm forever grateful for him, along with a lot of other coaches that have each step of the way. There's been those that have really helped guide me in some direction and motivate me. And then some coaches I've had that may not have been the best influence, but I think I got something out of them too. I mean, I think there's always a learning thing in that, but with Coach McGuire, just the fact that he came up basically on a referral from one of my high school fall coaches, Mickey Dearstone, who's the voice of the Lady Vols here for basketball, and he's been around baseball. He played baseball himself. He's been around sports. So I think he had some credibility. His son played at MTSU, but he took a trip over in the fall, and I think I had a brutal game. I think I made like 6 or 7 errors, but thankfully he saw something that he wanted to continue the conversation. And So I mean, if he doesn't initiate that step, right? Like I don't really know about MTSU and then to go there and really, just an easy coach that you wanted to play well for, loved the university and been there for a long time, a lot of tradition and just treated people well. And so it's very, it's very infectious, if you will. And as a players, you look up to that. And so, it's just a great opportunity that I got to say thank you. And hopefully it was special to him because I know it's special to me. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you mentioned something interesting there that you had some bad coaches along the way. And I think that any athlete who plays long enough is going to experience that type of situation.
Yeah.
How would you help someone navigate a situation like that? Because you can't always control who your coach is. You don't get to choose where you go a lot of the time. So how did you navigate when you had a tough coach or a bad coach or someone who didn't really mesh with who you were?
Yeah.
How did you navigate those moments?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm thankful for my parents and especially my mom, my stepfather and my dad who grew up a coach, but my mom specifically, she was one that if we did something, we had to finish it for the rest of the year, right? And so we had to at least finish it out. That was her parenting philosophy. It stuck to me to this day. So yeah, I mean, I won't necessarily give you the details of which sport and when, but I had just a coach that had X's and O's, and his coaching and record and success was hands down just his method. And part of it too was I'm kind of an immature, insecure, high school kid but it sensed to me, there's a lot less encouraging and more every criticism of everything, right? It's like you could never get it exactly right. And so part of it motivated me, but then part of it was just kind of became my own, not obviously projecting on him, but it became my own inner dialogue, right? And so I think just some things that just I didn't understand, right? It wasn't really fully explained. Like it's one thing if you're taking guys out or doing things or using an example. Typically a follow-up to that I think is very helpful for both relationships, right? To say, hey, this is exactly why I'm doing this, so right? I mean, you don't have to give an explanation that. You sure as heck don't have to call the parents, give an explanation that, but at least the player, right, to connect that trust. And I think that's important. But I think I'll tell you what I did though. It really, as I look back on that, it really helped me mentally grow in that space because I really, it marked me in a way that I think really helped me grow up a little quicker mentally and just kind of go, all right, you know what? Like I wouldn't say pull myself up from the bootstraps, but I just stayed in it, I mean, I just stayed in it. And then it kind of led to really kind of a direction where I really went all in just on the baseball side of things. So, yeah, I can look back on that years later and go, you know what, may have not been my most enjoyable time and may have not agreed with the philosophies and things, but I thought it was used for good. I think anything can be taken. I think there's some things positive can be taken from bad situations in anything.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And, I had some tough coaches along the way and some people that I didn't really see eye to eye with. And it wasn't that they were bad people or bad at what they were doing. They just we didn't connect. And sometimes you have that. And looking back, I do feel I learned a lot in those moments. So that's a valuable piece of it, is that sometimes even when you're not getting the most out of that moment, you can still learn something valuable in that moment. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
So I heard you talk about your original commitment to MTSU, right?
Yeah.
And when you were talking about it, you said you were planning on using it as a stepping stone, but then you showed up and got humbled.
Yeah.
What did you learn in that moment?
That guys can play at all schools. There's good baseball, especially at a successful school like MTSU was, that I just truthfully didn't fully do enough research on to know. But there's good baseball players, and yeah, I think in my own arrogance at the time, I just thought, well, I dreamed of playing SEC. Finally started to get some looks in the SEC, primarily Tennessee, but the timing of it and the fit wasn't just there. And so I just thought, well, I'll go to MTSU and really do well there my freshman year and then transfer out. I mean, that was kind of my thinking. And I'm really grateful. I got humbled, fell on my face. And then there's other good players around me that challenged me, that pushed me, good healthy competition that helped me elevate my game, my practice habits, my discipline. if I really wanted it, that's what it was going to be. So it was just a great fit for me to grow up, mentally, emotionally, physically during that time. And, but yeah, that was kind of my narrow-mindedness, I guess, if you will, going in. So, yeah.
Can you tell me of another time that you were humbled as you could progress further? Did it happen again, or was that the one time that like fixed it all for you and you were ready to roll?
No, it's every day. It's every day. Let's see. You get married, it's humbling. You have kids, it's humbling. Every day as a business owner, it's no, but it's true. I mean, I mean, just like anything in steps of life, right? Like when you got to high school your freshman year. I mean, remember that? I mean, it was humbling, right? You're in a whole big arena. I mean, not arena, but in an arena of sports that there's other people filling in from other middle schools. And I mean, it's all that stepping stone process that, get to college and you're a freshman again, you get to pro ball, you're a rookie again, you get to AA, you're kind of, I remember getting to AAA, there's grown men there with families. I mean, there's 30, 35-year-old. That was really too when the game wasn't as young, and it was, you had some valuable older guys experience that they got 4 kids, they're traveling. I mean, you're like this, I'm 23 years old at the time in AAA. And I'm like, that we're just in a different place in life, but I'm a rookie then. And then you get to the big leagues, obviously, and start to, so it was always, and the game itself, I mean, baseball, right, doesn't forgive. It's going to kick you in your teeth every day. That there's no, it's going to knock the pride and ego out of you regardless. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, right. I wouldn't, but those are some defining moments for me.
Mm-hmm.
Being on your own, learning time management, discipline. I could choose not to go to class, right? I mean, I don't have to go. My roommate was one of those gifted people that could sleep in and then walk on go on test day and nail it. I had to be present in class. I had to learn. I'm a visual learner. So just some of those things, it's the process, right? I mean, I know that sounds cliche, but just the process of that and constantly learning. It's good for me when I get prideful or arrogant. I want to be reminded to be humble, because I think there's a lot to learn that, right?
Yeah.
You're a sponge when you're humble. You're learning. You don't have to be perfect when I feel like, so anyway, I know I'm rambling, but yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. And so like you mentioned, the humbling was a key moment, and they were cornerstone moments in your process to growing into who you are now. Do you feel like today's game has gone away from the earlier humbling of kids, because we see so many teams and dads create teams and people just go, well, my kid's not going to play, so I'm going to go over here. Mm-hmm. Are we losing an aspect of being humbled by letting every kid play and putting them in places? Yeah. Is that something that you think we're getting away from, like learning how to grow up?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's certainly concerning. So for me, when I got into starting, BC athletics, the youth culture things, I saw some things. I was like, man, this seems a little, I wonder if this is kind of counterproductive, or is this healthy here? That, I mean, we were putting such a high value on winning, which I love to win. You're playing as a team to win. You're trying to beat your opponent. I'm not naive to not that, but like some of the dynamic of that and what kids I think were being exposed to in their young hearts and young minds was a little bit concerning. And on the other side of that, right, you got the self-esteem movement that's like, well, we can't, everyone gets a trophy type thing, which kids know when the standard is this, right, and they don't meet that, they know that. They're not dumb. So it's concerning when I'm all for encouraging, like, hey, listen, effort was great. We just came up a little short. We lost. It's okay. But like, I've learned so much value in the setbacks and defeat than you do in the successes. You don't value it, right? I mean, you don't appreciate it when it does happen. So I think at the youth level, what had happened was, and there's organizations, not like, I mean, as far as tournaments and things that have they've understood how this works into the minds of parents too, right? Because you can create different levels of that, and you can create different tournaments, and then you can create, I mean, I got an email from a company that said, congratulations, your son's been, nominated to the 10U All-American games. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I don't have a son. I've got 2 daughters, but however they knew that, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not trying to dog that, but it's just, you create this thing, and I'm all for, it is concerning to where kids, I think we've devalued the idea of working for something and competing for something, earning something. In the travel ball sect that I'm in, that I didn't want to just have where the automatic best 9 are going to play every single time. That they're not giving up, because we're trying to create space of development. In order to do that, you've got to let kids, not only if they're earning it, right? Like if they're showing up and coming to practice and doing things we're asking, playing the game we want them to play, then we got to give opportunities. This isn't, if I was in high school, if I was coaching high school or college or whatever, then you can then say, hey, I'm looking for the best 9 that are going to help us win as a high. I mean, that's understandable. But in travel ball, for me, at least for us, we like to have a little different approach of that. But yeah, there has to be long-winded. I know I get long-winded, but the healthiness of having a standard and the kids want that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You know that you've invested and put in the time, the work, and then you see the fruit of your labor. You see the reward of that. That puts you right in the throw of the process, in my opinion, of wanting to do it more.
Right. No,
am I wrong? I mean, you could tell me. Like, I feel like, so it is concerning, because you can't sway one way or the other, and just because of feelings and things. When you care for a kid, and also tell them, hey, I care about you, but here's where these areas need to improve, or here's where, do I think that needs to happen at 6U travel ball? No. I mean, my goodness. I mean, but anyway,
but I think your philosophy leads into that. When you are trying to get kids opportunities to perform in the game, you're not out there worrying about scoring 14 runs on a team that you're better than. You're using that opportunity as a chance to get maybe somebody who isn't going to be in a championship moment yet. Exactly. They're not ready. You're giving them reps in those games. So the game's a little tighter and they have to work a little harder to get that win. But that's the key, because that's what's going to keep them wanting to come back. That's going to build a kid who maybe doesn't play in college, who becomes a coach.
100%.
Because they love the game.
100%. And I would tell you this, I was a little naive when I first started, because I did come from more, not necessarily like everyone gets a trophy, but you care about the kids, right? Like you're trying to give them an environment where they can mentally grow, they can handle understanding failure, but I realized too that it kind of created a sense of complacency amongst where kids just like, well, I don't have to really, like first few years, we didn't ever really do tryouts. We just, and because I kind of came from it. I don't want this to sound like arrogant, but like it was, I mean, I just love to play. So it was like, I thought most kids this age, and you start to realize maybe different reasons why they're here, why they're playing, and different, and so just kind of having a reset button to where there is a little more of like, hey, like if you've got to give the effort and play the game the way we have as a culture and be engaged in these ways, and this, or it's probably just not going to be a fit here. So,
and I think that's another thing too, is I think these kids these days, like you said, they're not stupid. They understand when they do wrong. They understand when they lose. They understand when it's not doing up to the standard of those around them. But I also think they understand when you're giving them a line of crap, and they want that honest, open dialogue. They want you to tell them, hey, that's not up to what we expect here. You need to do that better. You need to give me more effort. You need to show up on time. You need to, that accountability is huge.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I think that's the key.
Yeah. Well, we need structure. I got 2 kids. My kids think they don't need structure, but actually when they're thriving, they've got some structure. They've got some disciplines. I think that's important. And I think that's valuable for sure. So,
for sure. I just sent my 3-year-old to preschool. He's just started doing preschool, and he's night and day better. He's the structure of being in class, the structure of being taught stuff, the routine of things. It's made a huge impact, and he's only 3. I mean, I can only imagine as you get older, that makes a bigger difference as well. But that structure piece I think is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just share this. A friend of mine, Michael Schlack, he's a coach, and he's got a, I guess, pretty good following on Twitter. He said this. I recently retweeted this and said, your coach isn't being hard on you. Your coach cares about you. There's a big difference between pushing for excellence and belittling. Are they yelling for you to be better or shouting at you to bring you down? Decipher that, and you'll know your coach's heart. I think that's good. I think that there's that balance of communication and expectation and what you see. And I think the kids, they do thrive in that type of environment personally.
100%, 100%. So shifting gears a little bit, I want to get into your professional career, right? I know you had a long career. 11 years in the professional ranks is huge. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of big portion of your life. But I know that when you were in the majors, you spent a lot of that time coming off the bench, being a role player, working in a different environment. Sure. Tell me what that role taught you about yourself.
Oh man. Well, it helped me. I empathize with the struggle more, with players go through. Like we're just talking about, right? When setbacks, when I remember getting called up in AAA and feeling like I'm doing everything I can producing wise to then sit for 2 weeks, right? And then get a spot start. Well, as any player knows, rhythm, timing, it matters, but just trying to fulfill whatever role, obviously to be there and stay there. But yeah, it was a mentally challenge. I remember a lot of times I'd be managing along our managers in the game, like Freddie Gonzalez in particular, where I'm trying to stay, okay, what's he think about here? Because he could double switch anytime. I'm coming in from defense and then I'm in the game, right? I mean, just patience. My goodness. I worked through the frustration of wanting that opportunity, not given to me, but to earn that opportunity. So I think, and then honestly, in those moments, how to be what I hope to be, what I hoped there was a good teammate in that, right? It's easy to just kind of become so self-absorbed and focused, like, why aren't I playing? I should be playing. What this, such and such is it. But instead, just being like, all right, let's roll them in. Like, how can I make the best of this? How can I prepare? I mean, that was even more hard because you had to almost over prepare. Like the games in BP before the game, that was almost like my game on most nights, because that was the only time I was going to get some of those live reps that I needed to make the most of them. So, yeah, I mean, I could probably extend on that more just about, but definitely the patience, and then just being able to stay disciplined when it's not real hopeful that you're going to get that as opportunities. That makes sense? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
To stay disciplined and going, all right, I still got to work out, still got to run, I still got to throw and things, but I'm not getting the lights are on and I'm not have that consistent opportunity to get out there. I mean, at 24 years old, I'm in a role coming off the bench, thankfully for Wes Helms. And I remember Ross Glode was on the team at that time, like helped me pull nuggets from them about that role. That's a whole different role. I came up, you come from an everyday player to that, and you're facing setup guys and closers. I mean, as a competitor, I'm keeping everything positive here the best I can. Right? I mean, you're essentially set out to. I mean, in Wes and Ross did an unbelievable job. I think Wes is one of the, if not one of the top pinch hitters. I mean, I don't know his career. I don't know if it's all time. I'd have to do some read, but it's pretty dang close. Like it's
a tough way to earn a living for sure.
Yeah, it's emotional roller coaster, to be honest with you. So how do you get one at bat, and then you're like, you may not get another one. You have one on Tuesday, you might get one on Saturday the next week. So you got to relive that one at bat, or try to keep that out of your mind.
Right,
it's a grind. So,
how do you use that experience now as a coach?
I think that's where the value has come in for me, in what I do now. And my wife said this when I was transitioning out of playing. She goes, I really think what you'll do next is what God allowed you to experience playing to help. And I thought, probably not what I fully wanted to hear at the time, but she was right. And she didn't say it like a malicious way. It was just like, I feel like she spoke into something that really was like, oh, I could see that, because I can empathize and relate to, I think one thing that it's kind of alive our culture is hard work's going to guarantee results. It's not going to guarantee anything other than it works, right? I mean, hard work, that's what's the option? Not to work hard, like, right. But to guarantee the outcome isn't always true. I mean, I know I was grateful for the opportunities I even got, that I know there was other guys that were just as talented, that maybe in a different organization or different opportunity, different timing. I mean, so many, and then like I'm fully entitled to those, right? I mean, so I think it's helped me to emphasize with players to say, hey, man, I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be right at where you want to be and then get hurt and have to go through the adversity of an injury. I know what it feels like to, wait your turn. And, that's hard. But, you know what I mean? I felt I had that role playing career path that, that I think it's helping me in what I'm doing now. So
for sure. And I agree. I think that there's a lot of kids today that think that hard work guarantees success. And I don't think it does either. I think it's more hard work guarantees opportunities. It's up to that opportunity to determine what becomes of it. You can't control the outcomes.
No, that you're exactly right. In fact, we had Luke Hochaver came and spoke to our post grad guys recently, and I'm trying it because I thought he said something I thought was, I never heard it, but it was essentially what you just said. But it was, hard work doesn't guarantee it, but it guarantees real, but it works. Meaning like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably butchering it, but it meant something. That's exactly right. Because I think you can kind of buy a little bit of going, well, I'm doing this, this, and this. It should equal that, and I'd rather roll the dice that way, right? I'd rather be on that side of than not. But I mean, it does guarantee honesty. It'll guarantee honesty what you've really invested into it. So
for sure.
Yeah. But
so you mentioned that your wife kind of helps you during your transition. What I was wondering, what was the most challenging thing for you when it became time for you to step away from your professional career?
Probably grieving the loss of some identity.
Okay.
I mean, like, and I say that like thinking, baseball doesn't own me. I'm not, it's what I do. It's not who I am. And I felt like as I started towards the end of my career, grasped that better than I did when I was younger. But I think it was true. And I had a mentor of me say, when I knew that the uniform was coming off, he said, I'd encourage you to grieve that loss. And I thought, grieve the loss? Like, no one's died. Like, I thought I always equated grief to death, right? He goes, but but it's the death of a dream. I thought, and that hit me. It hit me right in the soul. And I was like, man, that's true. And who am I? I mean, I know, but you still have to walk through that process. And I'm really thankful. I really then started to spend time just being thankful for that journey. And because when you're in it, right, anything, what's next? Stay on top of what's next, stay training. I mean, and so to really, and I feel like now I can do it more. I'm more grateful looking back on it. But yeah, I mean, you're starting to go, okay, what skills, what do I do next? Who am I? Like, people can know me, say, oh, Brett, the baseball player or major league player or whatever. And, that's just something I did, but but that's a tough process. I think that's a human side of things, especially as males, right? Like,
oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
right, so.
And any athletic career is going to come to an end at some point. And I think that's why it's such an important question to explore, because whether you play professionally or your career ends after college or your career ends after high school, if you dedicated a good portion of your time during that process to be good at what you were doing, that loss is real. And I like that idea of treating it as the death of a dream, because you need to grieve, you need to move on, because it was hard for me too. When my career ended, my roommates were still playing college baseball, and I was sitting in there in the room, and they're off at practice, and I'm like, what do I do? I'm used to having all these things tell, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I do. And I think that loss it's real, and it hurts, and it takes time to discover the next path and the next journey.
100%. I think allowing us, as men, we don't, I'll keep on, suck it up, and I've done that. But to really honestly have a moment where we're human. We are human. Like, and I can go, man, this sucks. This hurts. I wish it had gone this way, that way, but I'm thankful for it also. I mean, just wrestling through all those emotions and people, having people alongside that love you for you and not for your career and helps, and so, but yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a healthy thing to go through that process.
For sure.
Yeah.
So tell me what led you to coaching then, because obviously it wasn't the first thing you went into right after you were done, right? It was something that you kind of worked into. So tell me about that process of starting BC Athletics and becoming a coach and moving in that direction.
Yeah. So when I knew my career was kind of coming to an end, my wife and I just had our first daughter, and I had some opportunities to go. A friend of mine said, I think you should go into coaching. I think you'll manage in the major leagues. And I thought, that's very flattering to say that. He obviously had more vision than I did, because I didn't see that, but I did realize is, and I think what I said, part of this kind of grieving process transition, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go. I've done baseball since I was 4. I think I was 31, 32 when I was done. I'm like, I'm gonna go into something completely different. I'm gonna learn a whole new skill. Like, I'm gonna go into business, or I'm going to go into sales or something. And my wife would go, do you really want to do that? I'm like, yeah, I don't, and so she would, and so I did what in the meantime, I held a couple camps, and yeah, it was just natural to me. Just to coach, I saw the need of the development. I feel like what some things they weren't learning because it was just in the fast travel ball culture of just winning the Burger King championship. And sorry, I'm not joking. Those, yeah, but I didn't mean to be cynical.
No, that's good. I like that.
Cynical, yeah, but yeah. So I think when I that's when some things started to fall into place, and just spending some time in prayer and just thinking, okay, what's next? And it started to just kind of evolve from there. But yeah, I definitely took a couple years at least I was doing a little bit of lessons here, but in there, but I was just kind of figuring it out what was next. And the place we're at now, the facility we're at now, was owned by a former guy that was in travel ball for many years, and the space was a great fit, and it was within the budget I could afford. And so it really just, some doors started opening that I couldn't have open myself, to be honest with you. So that's just kind of how it started. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. It sounds like it's going pretty well. Now, how many teams do you work with nowadays?
So we've got under VC Athletics teams, we've got 10 teams. We've got 2 Middle Tennessee teams, former teammate of mine. We played college ball together. He was already coaching a team there. We're very like-minded on things, philosophy and things. And he was like, just loved it. It was just a great, and it's kind of a part of me is there in regards to, I went to school there. I had a lot of that was like we talked about earlier. So it was great. And so we've got a couple teams there that he kind of helps oversee on that area of things. And then, from our 11U team to on up. But the thing we started, though, that's really been enjoyable as well, kind of on a different side of the spectrum, was a post-grad gap year program. That's basically high school kids are graduating like this spring that maybe overlooked, maybe they got hurt. And we've got some guys right now on our team that, and one guy in particular who's actually going to be going to Coach McGuire at Vol State Community College, hurt his ankle his last year. Well, he definitely was a college player, but he missed his whole senior year. And the year before that was COVID. So that's been really fun because it's given us almost everything of what a college a college atmosphere would feel like, where they can take college classes. They're playing a college schedule, but they're training for 9 months to see how much they can improve. That's awesome. Fun because that's a different side of things, right? I mean, we've got 31 guys on our team right now. You're from all over the country, from New York to Texas, and we're able to, you're getting a little bit of a different. Most guys, right, are like, man, this is my last chance. So that's a fun environment, that kind of that symbolic, hey, there's no tomorrow, so that's been real enjoyable as well. And that started in fall of 2020. So okay. Yeah,
no, I love that idea too, and that post-grad opportunity, because like you said, sometimes things just don't go your way in the high school level, and you have some potential, and this is just another opportunity to not give up on that dream. And what I feel like you're going to get with those kids is the ones who have the drive, who want to get better, instead of just doing it because they're supposed to, right? They're 100%. Committed. They're in it. They're wanting to get better.
100%. And that feeds my fire. I mean, I love motivate. I mean, yeah, that's a fun environment to be around, that guys are gonna go all in on, or all out for. So
right. I don't think
I'd be remiss to say we have a softball team that are kind of going through tryouts right now. So that's been fun to engage in that, and a couple of softball girls former softball players that are coach of those teams. And that's been fun. I mean, I've got 2 daughters. We'll see if eventually they want to coach. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if they want to play, so we'll see.
Right. But,
yeah.
No, I think as a coach, there's nothing better than a kid who gives you a lot of effort. Like that, just like you said, it gets you fired up. It gets you wanting to do more for them. It gets you wanting to 100%. Do anything you can for that kid. So that's a lot of fun right there. 100%. What I want to dial down into here to finish up is I want you to tell me a story here. I want to go dig into the brain bank a little bit, and I want you to tell me about your first major league home run.
Yeah, it's a hard one to forget. For me, obviously, everyone you're lying if you don't remember your first major league home run, but yeah, I mean, it was off of Randy Johnson as far as from first major league home run. I just about a week before missed it by literally an inch at Citi Field playing against the Mets, and I was like, man, I mean, when's that first going to come? Right. I mean, if I go home tomorrow and never play in the major leagues again, like I'd love to just hit one, right? Just hit one out. And so literally, I'm not kidding, the week to the next week to the day, Randy Johnson had just finished or just completed his 300th win or finished. I mean, just had his 300th win. And so he was starting the next time. And I started to get a little more starts against left-handed pitching at this time. And so I had a little bit of a more of a role, more preparation, and kind of I could look ahead and be like, okay, we're playing such and such, and they're throwing this. And so on the way to the game, though, I mean, you never know for sure, but I'm hoping that I'm in the lineup, and I get to the field and I open the door, and as I'm walking down the hallway, the lineup was always posting the right. And so I would get used to just walking by and give like a glaze out the side of my eye and then be like, yeah, not playing. Okay. All right, what's next? So, but as I'm walking up, I'm almost sure I'm playing, but you never know. And I kind of just look because it's like self-protection mode, right? You're like, I mean, I hope I'm playing, but I'm probably like, so I look and, I'm in the lineup and I'm like, let's go. Like, and I'm thinking, man, I get to face Randy Johnson tonight. I mean, I've played video games against him. And so went through my normal routine, go through the night, and I can tell you this is as real as could be. And, being on the on deck circle, right? And you see Randy Johnson out there. I mean, I was, you're feeling the wave of some overwhelmingness, right? I mean, yes, it's a normal at bat, yada yada, like, but this is a fun moment. But then as a competitor, the fear of failure, like you're wanting, all these different things you got to work through. So I'm breathing and praying, and I mean, and it was just a really special night. Something I'm forever grateful for. I remember getting in the box, and it truly was one of those, I can honestly say, like clear the mechanism type things. Like, it just felt like it was peace on the water. I mean, I don't know, like it sounds cheesy, but I got in the box and I just felt everything subside, and I was really locked in. And I think it went ball one, ball two, and then hit it out and couldn't feel my legs running around the remember getting to the outfield,
floating around the bases.
Yeah, I think it was on my 100th at bat, and I remember getting out of the outfield, and I mean, I was overwhelmed. I was like, man, God, thank you. I mean, I was just grateful. And then I was also like, I better pay attention, or the ball's about to get hit to me and I'm about to go look like an idiot on Sports Center. So, yeah, that was a really sweet night. Fun moment to be in and have that opportunity.
No, absolutely. That's definitely a moment that sticks with you. And that's the thing about sports and life and enjoying moments that you get the opportunity to be in, is that you can really make something special happen if you're present and you're there and you give it your all and you show up.
100%.
Yeah. So exactly. Last thing I want to leave with is, for somebody else who's on this journey now, we got young kids that we're both working with. Yeah. What's the overall arching message that you give to them that kind of resonates to get them to focus on how that journey goes, that you've learned through your process, through your career, that kind of sticks with you, that you say, look, this is the direction you need to go if you want to make something of this path that you've chosen? What's that message you give?
Well, I think in order to get an ear from a player, to be able to speak into their life, they got to know that you truly care, right? And I got to ask myself, do I really love this person? Like, if I'm going to be here, am I all in? Do I really care about them? Right. And so if I would have been speaking to a younger me at that age, to really understand, to be process driven, right? The growth mindset behind things, that failure is not futile, right? It's not final. I mean, you have there's a lot of awesome slogans around it that mean something, but to be that process driven, that we're not expecting perfection out of you, and just invest your heart, and go after it fearlessly. And because to hold back, is not what you're created for. You're not designed for that. I mean, if you're able to have healthy body and healthy arms and legs to play a game and mind, then man, go be grateful and go play. Like, let it, like, with the to hold back, is not what you're designed for. I mean, because failure is going to be there. It's not, baseball is the number one self-esteem crushing sport there is, right? So that's part of it. We got to learn how to embrace that. We got to see the journey, set high goals, have ambitions, but understand the process and be honest, right? I mean, we want to be honest. That sometimes it's not very popular, but we can't. We're going to work with enough integrity to give them honest feedback that is helping them in their journey to be the very best they can be. Yeah. I mean, I love that. It's awesome. The guys who've gone on to play, or even just if they finished in high school, but they were all in, like they invested, they did, like, that's awesome. Like it's not about me anymore. It's not about it. It's about them. How can we help them be the best they can be? So process driven is crucial in my opinion. Yeah. Because I think we've set a standard in our culture, right? It's like if you failed at it, then it means you can't do it. So you need to go do something else. It's like, well, no, I think we're robbing ourselves of actually a lot of beauty that can come from all of it, the good, the bad, the struggle, the adversity, the bad coaching, poor coaching, great coaching, all of that. So,
yeah, for sure. 100%. I love that. Brett, thank you so much for taking time with me today.
I love your opinion on that, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah. My opinion.
I think, what do you feel like?
So I think as young people, we see the end result too often. Mm-hmm. We get the shiny picture. We get the Photoshop version of what it's like to be at the top, but they don't see the path. They don't understand that everybody has to walk through the mud. Everybody has to develop over time. And it's the journey that grows us into what we become, not the end result. We don't become the guy on top of the mountain because we got dropped there. That doesn't happen. You have to develop those hard feet through the walk in the hot sun. You have to develop the strong legs from climbing up the hills. You have to develop the resilience through those difficult things. And I think you're right. I think if we don't allow ourselves to fail and learn, then we never actually become who we're meant to be. And Absolutely. So too often people give up when they're at the closest point. The peak's the hardest spot. We start to, every mountain, as you get higher up, it gets harder to breathe.
Yeah.
It's testing you.
Yeah.
How bad do you want to get there? So
100%. I love it. And I remember you speaking on that a little bit at the coaches clinic, and of the boats in the oar. I mean, the oars in the water. And I mean, I love that because it's true. And, that's always been a concern of mine. I think social media can be used for good. And I think it could be a lot of positive things. I mean, it's been great for our organization that we can help share things. And but I think it also, sometimes it creates we could be anxious and depressed because we're looking at stuff and we're like, oh, I don't have it like John down the street, or man, Peter's career, and he's on this and that portal, and he's on the, like, I just think that kind of creates a little bit of a shallow, like what you said, of what does it really truly take in the work ethic and the depth of when no one's watching and no one cares about your highlight video in that moment, right? But when you're running stadiums or when you're getting extra reps with, you know what I mean? I think those are some really pivotal points for me of, I just had a passion to want to continue doing it. I mean, I remember countless times in the games that, I'd be terrible. And teammate of mine would be like, hey, what time you get in the yard tomorrow? I'd be like, what time's the game? He's like 7:00. I'm like, I'm not getting there till like 6:30. I could care less. He's like, oh, what time are you gonna be there? I'm like, I'll be there early. We'll sit early. Like, like you try to talk yourself out, and you're like, all right, you go to bed. You're like, all right, wake up and do it again tomorrow. Like, maybe I can get a little bit better today, And so, yeah, thankful for God's grace in that, because
for sure,
the journey. But that's awesome what you said. I think it's so true. So.
I think the other thing with social media, just to dive into that just a little bit more, is you see a lot of people post stuff just for the sake of posting. Like, look at me, I'm working hard.
Yeah.
But then if you look closely, they're wearing Crocs and they're not really working hard. They're just kind of doing it for show.
Yeah. Hashtag selfie. Look at me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the wrong way too. Like, so you see the shiny version and then you see the fake work and you're like, well, I worked hard. Did you though? Yeah. Like, you have to be honest. Again, that comes you being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not always a fun conversation, Papa, because you're telling the truth, but it's, again, care, truth, and grace. You got to have both. You got to be able to go, hey, I know you said you're working hard, but have we created in society and culture, do we really know what work ethic looks like in that? Like, and I'm not saying that whether you played high school, college, I'm always like, man, just enjoy that journey of it. Like, I had a dream to get to the major leagues like every other kid, but it wasn't like it was guaranteed by any means. And I was thankful that I got to high school, and then I got an opportunity. I got a little better, and then I got a chance to go to college, and I got a little bit better, and I got a chance to get drafted. It was all such a process of growth that just really thankful for. But yeah, it definitely takes the sacrifice and the work that I would imagine if I was in social media today. Like I said, it's not all bad, and we use it. It can be great, but I would wonder what it would have would have pulled at me as a player. I mean, like if like would I lose motivation if I wasn't getting seen here or that? I mean, so you know.
No, yeah, I have the same thoughts because I wonder if if social media would have given me a bigger opportunity than my one that I got. Would it have would it open doors for me, or would I have been so distracted posting stuff that I wouldn't have been as good as I was in high school?
Yeah, and therein lies both. It can be both.
Yeah.
Like it could, yeah. So, but anyway, well, I love what you're doing now. It obviously has an impact on people, and that's what it's about, and helping others along the way. So
I appreciate that, Brett. I really do. And where can my listeners follow what you're doing next and stay in touch with where your journey's going? Because I'm sure there'll be some people out there who want to see what's happening next for you.
Yeah, for sure. Be grateful for that. Yeah, I mean, we've got kind of our facility travel ball side, our website, bcathleticsnox.com. And then our post-grad is bcacollegebaseball.com. Social media, we're on Instagram, Twitter. Twitter's BC_athletics_Knox. And I believe that's the same for our Instagrams. Sorry. I need to be better prepared on that. And then our Twitters is BCA College Baseball. So I think you can get to one of those, you'd be able to connect kind of some dots on it. So
I'll make sure I get that in the show notes so that all my listeners can see what you're doing.
We're recruiting right now. We're recruiting 2022 grads that may need a different look, a different sidestep, or from trying to get guys developed and sent off to play. So
absolutely. Thank you so much again for joining me. It's been a pleasure. As always, guys. Keep reaching for the stars. Fall flat on your face, but remember, whenever we fall, always get up.
Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. If you haven't yet, please take a minute now to subscribe and review our show. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But remember, no matter what happens, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.